So now I have the unpopular topic of the day, and I'm gonna try something. I've been hearing this a lot. Uh, People are saying that I should talk about stuff outside of sports. So I'll be real. I don't know much about pop culture. I don't care much about people's lives outside of mine and my family's. I don't care about Krishan Robinson. I don't care about none of that. I wish nothing but the best for these people, but I don't care. I don't know what goes on in pop culture. I don't know because that's just not my lane. I don't feel it benefits me in any way, shape, or form to know what other people are doing or to follow people's relationship pages or to follow people's vlogs. Shouts out to Maya Palmer. She has a very good blog and she's a really good friend of mine. Go follow her. She posts stuff about her life. But anyone else, I don't care about celebrity relationships at all. But one thing I do care about is music. And again, I'm seeing how this goes. I need you guys' response to tell me how you feel about it. Drake just dropped an album for the dogs. And much like most of Drake's discography and most of Drake's drops, it has been very divisional when we talk about the conversations surrounding his album. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people say it's the best album Drake has dropped, some people say it's the worst album Drake has dropped. Here's my opinion. I am a fan of what people like to call rapidy rap Drake. Some of my favorite songs is Do Not Disturb or Western Road Flows, or some of those songs, most of the songs where Drake is really getting to his rap bag. I also understand that Drake is larger, than just a rapper. He's not just a rapper. And it would be a disservice to him to only service one crowd, right? Now, I will say that the build up for All the Dogs, which is, of course, the album that he dropped, which was centered around getting back to the quote unquote old Drake. And when people hear the old Drake, you hear a Take Care, or you hear Nothing Was the Same, or even if you're reading This Is Too Late Drake. That's the Drake that I was expecting to hear on For All the Dogs. And after since it dropped, I've listened to this album straight through probably 5 or 6 times just to make sure I felt what I felt. For All the Dogs is a good album, but it's not a good album on the level of Drake. I feel that Drake is considered, when we talk about the quote unquote kings of hip hop, right? And we talk about the top 3, there's always top 3. There's J. Cole, there's Kendrick, and there's Drake. And that title, the top 3, that means something. That means that there's an expectation that when you drop something, it is going to be vastly superior than the rest of the pool. And so when Drake drops something, I expect it to be leaps and bounds better than anyone can drop. Maybe not J. Cole, maybe not Kendrick, but better than the field. And For All the Dogs is a good album for the field. If, let's say Lil Yachty, because he's been around Drake if Lil Yachty dropped For All the Dogs, that would be, in my opinion, his best album. If someone like, and this is no disrespect, let me not say any more names. If somebody with lesser cachet than Drake dropped this album, it would be their best album. But for Drake, it's not. I'm not going to go as far as to say it's his worst album because I'm one of the people that absolutely hate. Honestly, never mind. I do like Sticky, and of course I like Jimmy Cooks, but that's about it. But this is a very... This is one of Drake's worst projects, in my opinion. Now, again, I know music is subjective, and I know that, again, there are some people that love this album, and shouts out to you guys. But I'm one of the people that think Views is probably Drake's best album. If we're not counting, if you're reading this is Too Late, that's Drake's best album. But a lot of people say, but no, that's a mixtape. Okay, so if you're reading this, Views is my favorite Drake album. I think that is the best Drake album. To me, For All the Dogs is nowhere close to Drake. It's best. And For All the Dogs is nowhere close to Views. I'll probably put it closer to Scorpion than anything. I think that Certified Lover Boy was better than For All the Dogs. I will even go as far as to say that Dark Lane Demo Tapes was better than this. I'll go as far as saying More Life, which was a playlist, that was better than this. It just wasn't. And you know what I also noticed? It feels, and I understand what Drake is doing. As someone, I've been so rigid, and I still might do it. This might be a one-off. I like to stick to sports. Because that's what I talk about. When people come to the Unpopular podcast, they expect to hear sports. This is honestly probably the first time I've talked about anything other than sports outside of like riots and stuff that happened a brick ago. I understand that Drake is larger than music at this point. Just like Beyonce, she's larger than music. Taylor Swift is larger than music. And if you don't believe me about Taylor Swift, look at the NFL trying to milk this whole Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce thing. I understand that Drake is in that lane. And I understand that there is a large group of fans that would be upset if Drake catered to my type of music that I like from Drake, and that is the rap Drake. That is the 5 a.m. in Toronto Drake. That is the 4 p.m. in Calabasas. That is Worst Behavior Drake. That type of rap. Hell, even 8 a.m. in Charlotte, that was on For the Dogs. That was one of my favorite songs on the album, along with First Person Shooter, because I love J. Cole's verse, which was a rap heavy verse. But I also understand that there's a lot of people that would not or would feel like Drake is not catering to them, and that is the pop group, the singing group. And I feels like For All the Dogs was geared towards Gen Zers. When you look at music like that Lil Yachty's been putting out, or that Yeet put out, or NBA Youngboy, or people like that of younger or younger people that kind of gear towards, or younger artists that gear towards younger people, that's what it sounds like this album is for. When we hear beats and you hear songs like Daylight, you hear songs like Amen, you hear songs like Tried Our Best, all good songs. But just when we talk about the caliber of Drake, I think it was a miss. I like the album. I think it's a good album. Out of 23 songs, and that's another thing. I hate long ass albums, man. Like, don't get me wrong, I like music, but Jesus Christ, 23 songs is crazy. Maybe keep it between 11 to 14 and you got yourself a banger. But if we talk about the totality of Drake's discography, I think that this is one of the worst albums that he's dropped. In fact, I'm not gonna. It's not. I think the worst by far is definitely if you're. Honestly, never mind. But I would put it between. I'll put it somewhere around. Hell, it might be right after that. I wasn't a fan of Thank Me Later. I like some of the songs on Thank Me Later, but as a complete album, nah, it really wasn't for me. But yeah, as just a regular album, I think For All the Dogs is a good album. But as a Drake album, and what I expect to hear from Drake, the same issues that we have seen, honestly, since Scorpion, is the same issue that I have with this. When I think of Drake, I think of a higher level of artistry that I'm not getting from For the Dogs. I think of greatness. When we think top 3, I think of great. I think of, your music should be aligned and your music should be comparable to a J. Cole, a Kendrick. Not the field. And I feel like this album was made for the field. So I like the album, but for a Drake album, it wasn't the best at all. That's just my opinion. So, oh man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.